you turn off the music, please? Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to welcome you again to MOGBEDE Radio TV. Welcome you to our wonderful program called The Perspectives. On this program, we look at topical issues that borders around Nigeria and Africa at large. We try to be the change makers, and we invite our audience of special guests who are specialists in their various fields. Today, we are looking at a very important topic called addressing child abuse in Nigeria, how to raise future leaders devoid of abuse. We've had issues. Children are being, please, can everybody mute themselves while we do this, please? So we have children who are being abused on a daily basis in Nigeria, and we are trying to look into this topic very closely today, and just to address how this can narrate to discipline a child and abusing the child. What is the margin that we need to reach as parents, and how to inculcate into our culture and into our laws as well. Today, I've got quite a few audience with me, contributors. I've got Mr. Chris Osayiwu with me. I've got Mr. Julius Amadi Otumba Oseni in the house. I've got Prince Folarin Oshinusi, and I've got Madam Esther Yetunde Sofela that will be going through all these questions with me today. So for audience that would like to join us, you can reach us online. You can go on Facebook or YouTube Live. Our handle is MOGBEDE Radio TV on both channels. So MOGBEDE Radio TV. If you'd like to join us via the website, you can join us on www.radio.mogbede.co.uk. Once again, it's www.radio.mogbede.co.uk. You can also download our app. The app is available on the Android store. The app is called MOGBEDE Radio. You can download it and also listen to all our other programs. So today we'll be starting as quick as possible. So what we'll do on the program is that we have audience who join us from all over the world every 4 weeks. On this particular occasion, we have our contributors who will be helping us through the topic and also the questions today. So I welcome everyone. So I'll be starting today by asking my very first question, which is for you to please introduce yourself and explain what you understand by child abuse. I'll be starting from Mrs. Sofela today. Please, if you can unmute yourself and help us to tackle this issue. And I'll come around to everyone else so that we can understand a bit more what child abuse is in Nigeria. Thank you very much, Mrs. Sofela.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
And good morning, listeners at home. I'm Esther Yetunde Sofela, and I'm a nurse by background. My scope of practice cut across so many areas, including the care of the child. So I can comfortably say I am a pediatric nurse too, that is children's nurse. What do we mean by child abuse? Child abuse, if you want to define it, simply means not giving the children what care they actually need. It simply means putting them through hassle, putting them through torture in one way or the other, in the name of training them, under the guise of we don't have enough. So child abuse could be physical, could be mental, it could be social, it could be emotional. Anything that is different from loving your child, raising them in love, giving them those fundamental things that they need: food, shelter, love, protection. If it veers away from that, then that child will be classified as being abused. So if you don't provide an adequate shelter for your child, you might be living in a mansion. If the mattress is not comfortable, if the layout of the house is not comfortable for that child, it's a child abuse. Asking a child of 5, 6, 7 to go and hawk your trade for you is an abuse. Actually, a child is classified as somebody from the date of birth till the 16th birthday. So until that time, anything that you do that is against the law of nature, law of individualism, it is an abuse. So the child, like we adults, have their rights. They have the right to protection. They have the right to very good care. They have the right to emotional health, being listened to, not shut up, not be seen and not be heard. They have the right to view their points, to talk, to tell us how they feel. They have the right to be confident. Oftentimes, parents, people around will look at a child in the face, lie against them, and even expect that child to be concurring with them. That is that not the truth? And if the child dare say otherwise, God help such a child. That is an abuse. Going to school, buying their books for them, paying their school fees on time, not being chased around, chased out of school. It's an abuse if you are not carrying out your responsibility towards this. Shouting at them, spanking them willy-nilly, pushing them, tossing them around. All those little knocks that look at you, idiot, without no justification. Taking our emotion out on them when we are not happy. Just get away from here. Can't you see? Are you deaf? Are you blind? Can't you see that this and that? It's because of you that they are going around. They can't have enough to eat. If you are not there, are we not? It's an abuse. So it's a very massive topic that we cannot finish defining it or even discussing it. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for that wonderful introduction. I think that covers it all. So child abuse does go wide, and it's not just when you beat a child or when you punish them. There are many things you can do to a child, which is classed as child abuse. We're going to look more into this. I'll invite a few more people to talk to us about it so that we can learn more from experience and from what is applicable in Nigeria. So very quickly, I'll go to Mr. Julius. Mr. Julius Amadi, please. What do you think is child abuse, and how can a child be abused? Because they say in Nigeria that a child doesn't have brain of their own. They mirror the brain of their parents and would tend to want to align or not give them any right as children. What is abuse in Nigeria, Mr. Julius?
Thank you very much. On this occasion, I'm going to start on some of the books I've written. I've written about 9 books on different topics. I've only succeeded in publishing two, which is online. And in each of these books, I dealt with a lot of these issues we're talking about. Today, we're talking about child abuse. As the first speaker has spoken, she mentioned it all. All I'm going to say about this is there are some institutions within the country that needs to be established in order to help the state or the nation to deal with the institution of abuse. These institutions have to be registered with government, and we have a database whereby everything you do to a child between the age of 0 to 16 has to be recorded, and we have a central report in government data, which means a lot of these abuses are not recorded, and people don't know much about them. In England, where I am, there are evidence of child abuse record on the data system and can be picked up by anybody, even on the road. Even on the road, the police, without the police, the citizens can report, and it is taken on board. So it is a very wide subject, and that wide subject is not only involving the family, involve the government to come out with a strong institutions to tackle child abuse. There are so many issues of it, like bullying, cyber, child sexual abuse, child trafficking, criminal exploitation, emotional abuse, as first speaker has spoken. So all we need to do today, those things are there, but they are not recorded. But we need now to have institutions that could be allowed. They could be allowed by the law to execute or to punish those people and to report them to the police. This is what I would say about it. So there are so many of them. We need a strong institutions, not only the government, what they call them agencies that are registered with the government to monitor and observe how the children are being taken on in Nigeria. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. That was wonderful. So it clearly shows that we do need to establish a more stronger unit in Nigeria that can monitor the rate of child abuse and how we can curtail it. And also, I think education, like you rightly said, we need to educate our parents, we need to educate even the children themselves so that they know they are right. Like here in the UK, everyone knows they are right. Even my child will know when you start abusing them far too much. And one of the biggest problem we have is that this abuse do have effect in the life of the children. We'll go into that as we progress. But very quickly, I'm going to go to Prince now, Prince Oshinisi, to please educate us on what you think is the problem in Nigeria and how are we managing this child abuse? What is child abuse to you, sir? If you're there, you can unmute.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Once again, I thank all of you for your community services always. Regarding child abuse in Nigeria, we mistakenly calling child abuse as discipline. There are two different things entirely. When you discipline a child, it's different from child abuse. Child abuse is when you deprive your children for their basic rights. And it is also when you discipline your child by leaving a mark that can bring detriment to some psychological effects that can affect this child directly or indirectly. That is child abuse. In Nigeria, when they discipline us in the olden days, there's only marks, beating marks of cane in all over our body. But now, at this particular period, that's a child abuse. You can discipline your child, but not by harming him or her. When you harm a child, him or her, or you deprive him or her food, shelter, health care, education, is child abuse. As what some of the previous scholars have already said, there's no point for me repeating what they've said. My own point now is that child abuse is when you leave a list of certain detriment that can bring detriment to the progress of a child in the name of discipline. That is child abuse. That's what I'm going to say.
Oh, thank you very much, sir. Thank you for that wonderful contribution. If you're there now, I'll be going to Mr. Chris on the second question, because this is a question that borders around the whole country as a whole. So how serious is the issue of child abuse in Nigeria? How can we curtail this dangerous trend? Because it cuts across every culture of Nigeria, and how do we curtail it? Mr. Chris, sir. You can unmute.
Yeah, I just did that. Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, the question thrown at me is how serious is the issue of child abuse? Without mincing words, I personally believe that child abuse in the country is as bad as the country being abused democratically itself. If we look at it, I'm trying to start from the upper echelon. If we look at it closely, and we are truthful to ourselves, we know that citizens of the nation as a whole is under abuse. The rule of law is under abuse. Even among the elites themselves, there are lots of abuses that are going on. That being the case, that we now have child abuse in the system is just like it's not even an issue that needs to be touched now. So what am I trying to say in essence is that child abuse is very, very prominent in the country, and the system is not even set, or should I say the government system, not just the government in place now, from the past, they are not even set to even start addressing it. Though we have one or two charity organizations here and there who are doing their utmost efforts to curb this, but without the real dynamic support of the government, their efforts are just like a drop in the ocean. So child abuse in Nigeria is widespread, prominent, and it's something that really needs to be looked into. Now, how can we curtail this dangerous trend? There are different postulations from different quarters, both in the academic quarters, the political, and the social enterprises. But this being what they are, in isolation, nothing coherent can really be done, or except there is a synergy between these different factors. So there is, to curtail this dangerous trend, first of all, there have to be a synergy. So that is where the government comes in. We know that the government tries to overwork itself by putting our hands in the dough of everything. But it is the wrong approach, I would say, because government is only supposed to draft the policies, the policies and procedures for implementing those policies. And then in conjunction with specialists, of course, and then they are supposed to monitor, not to start carrying out the functions. Those functions should be left to charity organizations and business enterprises, so that whatever they are doing can be measured, and where they are lacking, it will be obvious, and then necessary disciplinary or proper positive steps can be taken. But where the government is the one bringing forth the policy, they want to monitor it, they also want to be the ones that will implement it, we see that nothing is being done. So, for us to be able to curtail this dangerous trend of child abuse in the country, the government needs to set the policy, step back, and then monitor its implementation. And of course, in doing that, they need to empower the willing avenues with which we can implement all these policies. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think that's a very wonderful contribution there that covers quite a lot of things. So it goes to show that our government just needs to do a bit more to make sure that people who are abusing their children are seriously dealt with, and also people know their rights a lot more, because even if the government makes the law, we also have to keep the law. We don't expect the government to make the law and also keep the law at the same time, you know. So I will quickly go to Otumba now, Otumba Oseni, to help us tackle this issue. How serious the issue of child abuse in Nigeria, and how can we curtail this dangerous trend? Otumba, please.
Thank you very much. Thank you, and I want to start by saying 99% cause and causes of child abuse in Nigeria can be traced to poverty. Even though it's, we also do have in a civilized climate that also child abuse is also prevalent. It's not all that much, but some of them cannot be traced to poverty. I'm not an expert, but I can tell everybody here for free that when you look at a situation where the elderly, the middle-aged, and everybody in Nigeria struggling to have a 3 square meal, so it becomes very, very difficult for them to even share what they have sometimes. Yes, I do appreciate that most of our parents show love, kindness, and passion to look after their children. But child abuse is such a big issue in Nigeria that not only when you don't give them food, not only when you send them, you even ask a 5, 7, 6, 8, and so on number before age of 16, going to hawk, going to sell wares, going to go on the main road selling pure water and rat killer, poison, drugs, and all that kind of thing. So the amount of abuse we put on our children in Nigeria, we cannot start to start counting them here. So our situation in Nigeria is terrible. It's more awful, it's more horrible than what you get in Europe. So the one way to start looking at this is to enshrine their rights in the Constitution. I'll be shocked if there's anywhere in the Constitution that protects the rights of the children. If it's even at all, if it's there, it will just be like a kind of a lukewarm arrangement that look after your children. All this kind of thing, I think that is really, really big problem that is very, very worrying. So again, I want to profess, number one, their rights must be enshrined in the Constitution, both at federal, national, local, and state level. And then it's one thing to enshrine, do not hit your child. Do not do this to your child. If you, the parent, you haven't even eaten, you are stressed, you are grieved, you have so many problems, and your child comes, just familiar, all that kind of thing. You don't need that. But then again, the situation makes it possible that you have no choice. But because I heard from one of the contributors saying sometimes we want to avoid taking our stress out of our children. Sometimes I can say to you, it becomes very, very unavoidable because everybody is stressed. There are many grown-up people in there that have never seen love. They are born into all this kind of hardship and all that kind of thing. So what I'm trying to say here is, even if all this kind of thing are enshrined in the Constitution, we must also support it by bringing by the social support here in Europe and some other countries. Child benefit will not be denied of anybody unless you say you don't want it. This is not much, but at least it contributes to the purse of the family. So the parents will, use it to buy the children immediate needs. You don't have that. In fact, when you have a country where pensions have not been paid the last 9 years, so how is the father going to chip in? How is the mother going to chip in? So the mother that is doing alaru, going to Teju to beg for terrible jobs, and so really it's a big issue in Nigeria. And the only way to tackle it, like I said, is different. Number one, enshrine it. To enforce it, you must bring by social support. But then, before you support the children, you must create an enabling environment for their parents. So, with this, is my initial reaction to this. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Otumba. That was a wonderful contribution there. So it goes to show that we all have to be involved when it comes to managing child abuse, because we have to understand that what goes around comes around. Recently, I did a course here in the UK on trauma, and there was a list of things that we all went through when we were a child. And I was being asked to tick what I went through, things like being slapped, being beaten, being abused, and all that. And I must say that out of the 25, I ticked 15. In fact, I got to a point I had to be hiding my paper. I don't want the other white people to see, because most of them are only ticking 2, 3, 4. So in that ticking, honestly, they said once you tick up to 9, you definitely will suffer things like mental breakdown, depression, and all that. So they analyzed, and it's unbelievable when my outcome came. It shows that before I grow old, what I will go through, I don't want to say. So you see, all this thing comes down to all of us. Some of us, the kind of childhood we had, we grow up to start exhibiting. It's like planting a seed. Then the seed grows. And when you grow up, people become aggressive criminals and all that. So when we have people doing all these things, they are the things we've laid in them that's germinated now. So I'm going to go back to Madam Shofela just to give us a bit more insight into this very serious discussion we are taking today. This child abuse. How do we address it? As a mother, how do we address it? As someone who deals with child every time, how can we curtail it? Please, we've heard from several of our contributors, but can you give your insight into this as well?
Thank you very much. I will actually go back a little bit to contribute to what the previous two speakers have discussed. Then I go into the question you asked me. To start with, the government has already put things in place in the systems. We have the social welfare, we have the children development aspect. When you say youth, sports and culture ministry, there are everything in place if we want to use it. The only thing is for government to enforce it when they need to. Now, let's quickly go into the way we bring up our children. Like we rightly said, what you don't have, you cannot give. Like you rightly said that when you are scoring yourself on that questionnaire, that you take 15 out of 25. But the thing is, we need to leave the bad experience behind us when we are bringing our children up. There is something you called creating boundary for children, that don't do this. If you do this, this is the repercussion. Partly communication, partly warning, partly teaching that, listen, it's not good to do this, and don't do it. If the child then goes on to do it, people will say, how come? Is your ear on your hand? Why can't you listen? Why don't you do what I asked you to do? Then you need to look into it, because it is not normal to say to your child that, I don't want you to touch hot pot with hot water in it. And the child will repeatedly go and do that. When you know that it will be burnt, you need to look into the reason why he's doing it. Is it because he see you too, checking the temperature of hot water with your bare hand, holding hot pot without using any pad, any oven glove and things like that? Because these children will actually learn more looking at you than you telling them things. That is when they say, do as I do, not as I say. That's an aspect of it. Another thing is, when you say, when we were young, we were being beaten, it's not counted as abuse. I can tell you that it's an abuse. When you beat your children incessantly and you are pouring all your energy, that you feel that the more you beat them, they feel the pain, the more they will listen. It is not true. It is you pouring out your frustration on that child. Why should you beat your child as if it's an ashoki? It's not on, no. If at all, because of our environment over there, I will not say, oh, it's not possible not to touch your child. You know, if you tilt the head that I always tell you not to do this, that might be enough. If we as parents have done our work very well from the beginning. What do I mean by that? You don't wait till a child is 10 before you start saying, don't do it. Sometimes if you just look at your child sideways, they will understand. I've worked extensively with so many nations. And even in Britain, you will see parents, all they need to do is to look at their children sideways. They will decode that look, and they won't go near what they don't want them to go near. So the way we raise our children from the beginning matters a lot. You cannot afford to have 4 children. And you go ahead, you know your scope, you know your economic power. But under the guise that is God that gives children and that will help us to train them. You went ahead to have 4 children. How do you want to cope? Frustration will set in. Children will be hungry. They need snacks, but you can't even provide 3 square meals. How much more snacks in between? Then you wonder that they are looking at their mates that are eating things that are embarrassing you. And this cut across everybody, either we are illiterate or we are literate. Anyway, 90% of us in Nigeria, we are illiterate. Because being educated does not mean that we are literate. If not, you won't find educated people having 4 children within 3.5 to 5 years, purposefully. Oh, I told her not to get pregnant. So what happened to you? Why don't you go and buy condom? Why don't you yourself go to sex health education clinic? What can I do if I don't want my wife to get pregnant? You don't have it. Even those that we put pure water on their children to go and hawk in the market, the money will come in, they'll be running after the Ashwebi for the next party because they think if they get there, they will be connected. Yet these children have not even have 3 square meals in there. So it cuts across a lot of things. Now, How can we prevent this? Like we said, we classify children as somebody being born today until that person is 16-year-old. Let's go back home to the basic. Show your children love. When we are disciplining children, there's something we call positive motivation and negative motivation. I was in the market yesterday morning, and this lad, about 17, 18, was helping his mom in the shop. And it's like, run quickly, go and clean the thing. I said, remember to add thank you. He said, oh, what do you mean? When we were young, we do this, we go to the farm. I said,
Hello?
yes. Hello? I said, she said, when we were young, nobody thanks us. I said, so you start the practice. That there are two words that brings out the magic in children. Oh, I'm sorry, my dear. I didn't know. I didn't do that on purpose. Pardon me. And when they do things for you, that thank you, that you must think how many times you say thank you to your children per day. You shouldn't be tired of that. Let them actually be tired and say, oh, mom, it's all right. It's okay. It's all right. No, I need to say thank you. I'm grateful. How many times do we do that with our kids? Look, Sheyi, get me a cup of water. Yes, Dad. The water landed. No, thank you. You are still busy doing whatever with, oh, thank you, my dear. God bless you. Your child will fetch things for you too. It goes a long way. That's the beginning of wisdom. When they are erring, and we sit them down and say, listen, don't do this. I will not be happy with you if you do it. But that thing you are asking them not to do, they are looking at you. You too, you are not doing it. You are not gossiping about your friends, about your siblings in their presence. You are not talking ill of people in their presence, and when those people appear, you give them 100 megawatts smile. Because they'll be looking at you that, why is dad and mom two-faced people like this? You need to lay down exemplary reactions and actions for them to emulate. You won't ask them to do one thing and you are doing another thing. And clearly, there should be that boundary that I will give you 3 warnings. They will know naturally that, no, mom has warned you now. Don't try it the second time because you will see our other side. That other side might be just slightly modulating your voice, changing it. That affects you.
Because of the time, I'm going to have to step in. I'm sorry. I know.
Yeah.
Your points are very big and very, 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 very interesting. But because of the time, I'll come back to it because we still have a lot of things to discuss. But very quickly, I'm going to go back to the studio. We need to take a very quick commercial break. Then when we come back, we will take the next question. And I would like also anyone who is with us now and would like to contribute, just raise your hand and I will call you because we've had a few people join us. Please participate. No problem at all. I will come to you and then we can look into this together because it's a very important question. So for everyone that's listening to us all over the world, we're available live on YouTube and also on Facebook. Our handle is MOGBEDE Radio TV. Search for that and you can watch us live. Also, you can listen to us on our radio, www.radio.mogbede.co.uk. You can also download our app on the Android market. So very quickly, we'll take a commercial break, and when we come back, we'll continue in this discussion. Thank you very much.
Mogbede o, oyin mama.
Àwọn ọ̀rẹ́ mi náà sọ, wọ́n ní ká má fi ọjọ́ orí wa sí o.
Ọmọ Òṣogbo ni bàbá wa, ọmọ Òṣogbo lèmi náà.
Biro kago Àjàní wọ̀lú tí mi yàrá pẹ́kẹ́pẹ́kẹ́ ètò káàrọ̀ ọ̀tọ̀ ló balẹ̀ gùdẹ̀ sórí ìkànnì tá a wà yìí Mogbede lè tó ara ọ̀tọ̀ tó balẹ̀ gùdẹ̀ sórí ìkànnì tá a wà yìí o bẹ́ẹ̀ bá wá fẹ́ sun nígbọ̀wọ́ abẹ́ fẹ́ polú ọjà nílẹ̀ ẹni àbí lókè òkun ẹ kàn sí wa lórí àwọn ẹ̀rọ ìbánisọ̀rọ̀ wa wọ̀nyí Mogbede ètò ní Mogbede ó ti balẹ̀.
Thank you very much. Once again, I welcome everybody back to the Perspectives. We're whole live on MOGBEDE Radio TV. And you can watch us all over the world online on www.radio.mogbede.co.uk. You can also watch us on YouTube and Facebook Live. Our handle is MOGBEDE Radio TV. Thank you for all our contributors today and for the wonderful contributions we've had so far. We're going to go to the next question very quickly because of our time. And now I'll go to Otumba Oseni. Very quickly, this is a very interesting question. Based on your experience, and is trying to discipline a child same as abusing the child? If not, how do we differentiate between the two? And is there any limit when disciplining a child? How do we differentiate?
Thank you very much, Mr. Lifer. Well, let me break it down the way I understand it. To discipline a child does not necessarily mean you're going to be abusing him or her. You can lay down rules, little home rules, laws, and then maybe regulations to put him to understand that there's a red line, there's what you can do, what you cannot do. And you can also put what we call in law fear of sanction. You can also apply that to the child, that if you do this, you're going to get this. So in the process, I don't think that will amount to abuse. Having said that, implementation, how you implement it on that child, you also make or break. You could also speak volumes. You could also make it look like, you are indirectly abusing or trying to abuse. Let's take a scenario in Nigeria when you tell your child not to go to your neighbor's house and cannot take things from strangers, you should not be involved in all these kind of things. But the reality is this child is hungry. This is the truth. We all know that. Don't let us run away from the fact that this child is hungry. So if he runs into an uncle who says, how are you, blah, 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 very likely the child will be asking for a favor. So even for me, you might not say that openly, but an elderly, an adult will quickly see that. So then it now brings the conflict. How do I want to balance discipline my child not to do this? Because when you say discipline automatically go to like prohibition. You prohibit, don't do this, don't do. Most of them are don'ts. And if many don'ts will be as a consequence, as a realization of child having got what he wants. Like you discipline, they don't ask for anybody for eraser when you go to school. Don't ask them to use their pen. Don't ask to use their exercise. Don't ask them to use their books. Don't. But then again, out of the don'ts, it's just like I was laughing when you say you have to mark. I don't know how many questions was it, Mr. Lifer?
25, and I got 25. And I got 15. That's happened to me personally.
Yeah, I'm sure if you have chosen one of the slaps, because there's almost about 22 slaps in Nigeria that has been so really, on a more serious note, and then abuse is abuse when you openly, flagrantly, or blatantly started telling the child because he did that, and you start smacking and pushing him and bringing, putting him down emotionally and otherwise, and so on and so forth. So in Nigeria, it might be very, very difficult to calibrate or to make difference, because in Nigeria, they are more or less like they are interconnected. Unlike here, there's they're parallel. You can still see a Igbo man will say, John, don't do it, don't climb up, don't. Despite that, the boy will still climb up and fall down because there's a ready-made, there's a standby ambulance will come and take him. Yeah. You take him to hospital. When you get to hospital, he will get all the necessary support and so on. You cannot tell your small child of 7, 8 years, don't do silent things. In fact, the moment you want to climb a chair or whatever, it's going to be a badi or a baron or a bati, a baju, all that kind of thing. Even though you are trying to, you want to discipline him, but in the process, you break the agreement of wanting to discipline, then the process you'll be abusing him. So again, that's why I was saying in my first reaction that there must be a distinctive arrangement in the Constitution to protect and provide. Both of them goes together. If you want to protect children from being abused, you must also provide the enabling arrangement and support for the parents to we're giving you, give you the support, which we don't have. Might need another 300 years to get it. So for me, it's going to be very difficult, but that's the truth, sir. Yeah. It might be very difficult to discipline. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. That was a wonderful contribution there from Otumba Oseni. All right, very quickly, I will be speaking to Prince Oshinusi now. Prince, what is your take? I mean, Otumba started this discussion. What is your take on this? How do you think that we can differentiate between discipline and abuse in Nigeria? And what is the limit? When does a discipline become an abuse? And should we even be disciplining a child? Should we only be instructing them on how to go about life? Because in the UK, you can tell a child, don't jump or don't put your hand in the hot palm oil. Or if the child puts it, the child will suffer. So, and there's modalities for that to be dealt with in the UK, you know, but we slapping, beating. I mean, recently I was watching one on Facebook. This woman used hot stone, put hot stone on the stove and use it to mob the whole of the body of this girl, just because the girl stole 5 naira. So at the end of the day, it is bad in Nigeria. How do we address this, sir, if I come to you?
Thank you very much. If you look at it, I must tell you, all the discipline I was getting in Nigeria then, it was when I got to this country, I realized that that I was being abused. But to God be the glory, I must tell you that those disciplines are actually valuable and they're actually helping me now. Now, you know what? There are ways of disciplining people through our Yoruba idiomatic expression and things like that. For example, they will tell you, if you eat in the front of the door, you will never get satisfied or bellyful.
Yes.
By that, they will give you a little bit of food. And if you want to go and sit down in front of the door, when you remember that, oh, the food I was given is small, if I sit down at the front of the door, I will not be bellyful. You know, that is a culture that you have already introduced discipline to your child, that when you want to eat, you have to sit down on a chair and put your food on the table, not to sit in the front of the door. You understand what I'm saying? That is some certain ways of doing it. You know, in Nigeria, there is a lot of things we call discipline that is child abuse. Just like the one you said. I could remember if people steal money in Nigeria, they will even do the extent of beating you to the point of death. That does not say the child will not steal the second day another time. But there are ways of introducing discipline, even one-to-one conversation, telling your child this: if you continue stealing, you see what happened to those people that you are killed at the Babish. There are things like that. But there are some certain things that led to all this child abuse. Otumba said something like that earlier on in Nigeria. If you look at the economic situation in Nigeria, and if you look at family, what can I call it? Family problem, family-induced problem to the self that led to child abuse. Come on, how could a messenger having 300 naira a month, having 3 wives and 10 children, how can he cope? You see, those are the problems we're facing. But their mentality is that the more children you have, the more they will take care of you at. That when they grow old. And these are the children that you haven't got the means to send to secondary school. These are the children you haven't got money to give 3 square meals to. And when you see it, you find children like 9, 10 years walking on the street to get money for their parents for feeding. And what will happen? The following Saturday, the mother is going to use the money to buy a Chevy, to attend a party because she believes when she gets to that party, people is going to spray her. She will have a lot of money and bring some food home. But mostly, is the reverse is the case. Because things are so tight for people. So the only way we can do it is for us, let us provide the basic necessity for our children, like food, shelter, clothing, education. Please, this is where family planning comes in. If you don't do proper family planning, there's tendency for you to give your children child abuse because you cannot cope. You have more than you can chew. That is the problem. And the difference between discipline and child abuse to me is that when you discipline people, you can discipline people by words of encouragement. You can discipline people by minimal punishment, not starving or depriving them for their basic right. But there's a sort of discipline. Okay, you know what? I'm not going to allow you to watch telly or play your games. Normally, your child has been spending 4-5 hours on a game a daily. Instead of that 5 hours, you can discipline him or her by allowing her 3 or 4 hours. He knows what you ask him not to do. He will not repeat it because he knows he's going to lose further hours on his or her game. So that is part of discipline. That is the way I can explain. Most of the discipline in Nigeria are child abuse in this country, and I know they are trying to implement such. But what led to child abuse is the economic situation and lack of proper family planning in Nigeria. God bless you.
Thank you very much, Prince, for that wonderful contribution. So it goes to show that a lot of time would take our anxiety, stress, aggression, or the economic situation that comes on us as adults, on the children, because they're the easy targets. But clearly it shows that this is not good enough because it's an abuse, because what goes around comes around, as we've been saying. I'll go very quickly to Temitayo. I don't know if it's a he or she, but Temitayo, I can see your hands up. If you unmute yourself and please contribute. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's a she.
Oh.
Okay.
Thanks for the opportunity. I'm sorry I came in a bit late, so I hope I will not have to repeat what has already been said.
That's all right.
But I would like to just go on the very low shelf contribution. There are a lot of talks around governmental responsibilities, societal norms. But I just want to go very grassroots level. As a nation, Nigeria, we just seem to have a problem with love and expression of it. And that's just the foundation of it. When we're talking about child discipline, child abuse, it's like talking about the symptoms of the problems we have as a nation. There's child abuse in every part of the world, even here in the UK, where there's a lot of provision, a lot of accountability. We still find out that there's reasonable level of child abuse. But if we're concentrating on how it is in Nigeria, there are a lot of things people have contributed that are responsible for it. And sometimes when we talk broadly, if we're still talking about what other people need to do, we're not going to be quick at resolving the problems. We should start by what we can do, what we have responsibility around. Some of the time is an issue of mindset. A lot of people that are guilty of this problem, they do not know any better. So I would think a lot of people who are interested in the topic should look for means of doing a lot of awareness, do a lot of sensitizing people. We all grow up by the UK definition of abuse. Almost every African in this nation must have been abused child. But taking it into context is getting the balancing act. A lot of things that are considered abusive, when it's done under the right context, it's actually beneficial. We were brought up in a very firm and bounded environment. which gave us the ability to create resilience to a lot of other issues. Things that will give people in the UK mental breakdown, you find an African is still pushing through. But that's not to take away from condemning child abuse. And like one of the speakers had mentioned, you don't train a child in what you tell the child. It's more on what you do. Children learn more by what they see. That's why we have the adage that the apple does not fall far from the tree. And who are we expecting to lay the right foundations for children? They themselves do not know any better. They themselves have been exposed to a lot of wrong beliefs and wrong mindset. So individually and collectively, we should start by revaluing our morals and our values. Little things like all this Ashwebi, what it has brought into the society is so great that we cannot measure it. People do not have balanced meal to give their children, but they feel compelled to be part of the system. This person is doing this thing, how will it be when I do not participate? You can participate without wearing the cloth. So little things like that that puts us in such a terrible position where we cannot give the nurturing, the love and care to children. And one important thing again, when we're telling children what is the right thing to do, what most people in Nigeria tend not to do is explain why. Because they feel a child should be told, a child should not be heard. We make a lot of children not confident by not allowing them to express themselves. So there are some modalities we need to change. But if we go back in time, at least I can speak of the Yoruba culture. We had a good system that gives good ways of bringing up children without abuse. But along the way, a lot of it is eroded. We took a bit of Western civilization without proper understanding. We put it into our system and messed everything up. So we need to go back to understanding what is right and what is wrong. Before we give it big names, let's just, because children are the products of family. If you have a dysfunctional home, what kind of children do you think we're going to bring up? Children should be for a father and a mother. The design is not to be a single parent. So there are a lot of things that produces abusive relationship. I beg to differ. Poverty plays not such a great role. I've seen people from very poor homes who had good morals and good upbringing, who are very well loved. And there are people from rich homes that do not understand values and morals. We need to get our acts right. We need to know where to draw the line. And we need to just cut our codes, not just according to the, is as much cloth as you have. That's how you cut it, not your size, because it might not be enough for your size.
Thank you. Thank you very much. That was a wonderful contribution there. I must say, it made me go quiet and learn a lot from that too. So thank you so much, madam. I must say that we all have roles to play. I mean, these things we must start to take it very, very important if we are to progress. And with what madam has said, I think a lot of us don't know what we're doing is even wrong. We think it's right. And again, I think there are some cultural and traditional inheritance that we inherited and we still pass it on. I mean, things like people saying that when you withhold a rod from a child, if thou beatest him with the rod, the child shall not die. Thou shalt beat him with rod and shall deliver his soul from hell. Things like that, quotes like that is so inherent in our constitution, or not constitutional, but in our country, that so many people follow this quote and they use that now to really, really abuse our children. I mean, I grew up being very, very abused as a child, and it affected me in everything. My confidence, I had this inferiority complex and all that. It took a lot for me to grow out of this. When you get home, you're being abused. When you get to school, you're being abused. The teachers are the worst abusers in our country. So all of this needs to be put into perspective. So very quickly, I'm going to go back to Mr. Chris. Mr. Chris, what is your take? Because it's a very serious issue we're discussing today. So what's your take on this, sir?
Yeah, thank you, Ms. Abiola. Thank you very much for letting Ms. Semitayo speak before me. She covered, actually she took the words out of my mouth, but I will just go a bit deeper in what she expressed. And the verse you were quoting just now about withhold not correction from the child, yes. Or if thou beat him with the rod, he shall not die. It's actually taken from Proverbs 23, verse 13. Similar to it is Proverbs 22, verse 15, that says, foolishness is bound in the heart of a child, but the rod of correction shall drive it far from him. However, in other words, what these two verses are saying is that, yes, discipline the child, don't spare the rod. These two verses are usually misinterpreted because in the same book, in Ephesians 6:4, it says, and ye fathers, provoke not your children to wrath, but bring them up in the nurture and admonition of the Lord. I want to delve more into that little space that says, provoke not your children to wrath. What he's saying is that do not confuse your children to start doing the bad thing. And what does that mean? In other words, children learn by what they see. So, it's, when you are doing the wrong thing and you expect the child to do the right thing, you are already abusing that child. Because the child is bound to copy the wrong thing that you are doing, even if they also pick some of the good ones. But they are more likely to pick the wrong thing. Coupled with the fact of the environment with which all this is happening. I mean, putting those things in perspective, you will have no right to hold on to the quotations in Proverbs 23 and Proverbs 22 about not sparing the rod, because the children are bound to copy from you. Now, another aspect that Mr. Temitayo also mentioned is about we ourselves. The change must start from we as individuals. First and foremost, we must cultivate the fear of God. And what are the fear of God? This includes self-love, patience, tolerance, and the likes. It is when we have this, then we know that we must not try to discipline a child when we are angry, because anger confuses the mind. It makes us to become irrational. So we must learn to be tolerant. And then we must learn to reflect and consider the child's capacity. In most cases, when we discipline or abuse a child, it's because we are expecting the child to do things the way we would have done it. How do I expect a 4-year-old or even a 10-year-old or even a 15-year-old child to do things the way I will do it at my age of over 60? And it will not be fair. By having that expectation, I am provoking that child to wrath. So the actual abuse, most abuses, comes from within the immediate family, more than external abuses. It always starts from within. So yes, I quite agree with the lady that spoke earlier on, Ms. Semitayo, that in as much as we try to blame external factors and forces, we must learn also to reflect inwards, because the discipline starts from home. It is what they learn from home, what they see from home, that they project outside. So when we're talking about are they the same? Yes, they are not the same, discipline and abuse are not the same. And how do we know that? By we reflecting, starting with ourselves, having the fear of God, being tolerant and patient with that person we call a child, because they cannot do the same thing. They cannot do things the way we will do it, because we have more years of experience than they are. They're just growing up in most cases. Thank you very much.
Thank you. That was a wonderful contribution there, and that says it all. So it's important that we start with ourselves as adults, as the father, as a mother, as a family, so that we can raise up children who can be leaders of tomorrow. All right. So if you're with us today and you'd like to contribute, please raise your hands if you're in the studio. If you're not with us, if you're online, you can send up a message as well, and we can read it and tackle it as well. So very quickly, we will continue today. But for those of us that's joining us from everywhere in the world, you can listen to us on our website, which is www.mogbede.co.uk, or you can listen to us on Facebook or YouTube Live. Our handle is MOGBEDE Radio TV. You can also download the app. Our app is called MOGBEDE Radio and is available on the Android store. So thank you so much for listening. This is The Perspective. I am Abiola Laifa, and we have so many specialist guests who have been contributing today, and they've said quite a lot about the issues on ground. And the issue today is about child abuse. How do we manage it? What is happening? Why are our children so abused? And what is the consequences? How do we differentiate between abuse and discipline? Because a lot of us will say in Nigeria that we only discipline the child, we're not doing anything to abuse him. But how do we differentiate? What is the border between the two? I'm going to go straight away now to Prince Falayan of Shinusi. Please, can you just unmute yourself and also contribute today? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Laifa. Yeah, I just want to emphasize on discipline. How do you want to discipline your children when you yourself as a parent are not disciplined? What you see, what we do, what our children see, what they hear, whether it's good or bad, they're going to take out of it.
It's what they do.
What we do is very important. Excuse me, how could a father who woke up early in the morning, the first thing he took was the bottle of Hennessy that he drank almost till 4 o'clock.
Jesus Christ.
He woke up, he took the bottle, get a glass, pour some, and the next thing is cigarette with it. And if you look at his appearance, he's got 2 earrings. A father with 2 earrings on his ear. You see, most of these things causes a lot of psychological effect for our children. And when they start, you see, when I look at it, there's no civility among most of us who live in this country.
No.
Despite the fact we live in a civilized country, we still have that our Nigeria I don't care attitude that God will do it. God will not. We have to beat ourselves. And the most important thing is that our children, when they want to start all this bad habit, we've forgotten that they actually inherited all those things, and they will continue to inherit it from us if we don't stop it earlier in their presence. And by then we try to discipline them. But we say that, I remember when you wake up in the morning, that you start with NSC and cigarette. That I remember when you will not sleep at home for 2 or 3 days. That I remembered when you and mommy usually have heavyweight wrestling and boxing contest. You see all these things. And when our children must start fighting in school, when they come back, we say we want to discipline them. When they saw us fighting one another, physical fighting. You see, all these things is child abuse because it's bringing mental torture to our children. Excuse me, we have to stop all these things because we Nigerians, we value the value of our children because we believe they are our future. But how do we want to them for that continuity when we don't give the basic amenities they need. You see, let's stop all these things. Ashwebi, all these things. People will not pay their rent because they want to buy Ashwebi, and you see them, council sending them packing. You see them losing their mortgages, and you see them living in friends' house with their children. What type of things are we doing? That's child abuse because that children hasn't got his own right, his own space to play with his game and other things like that. Please, our children is our priority. If you want to discipline your children, please discipline yourself first. That is how you can discipline your children. God bless you, sir.
Oh, thank you. I think that's wonderful. That's something we all should take along. If you want to discipline your child, discipline yourself first. Because if you're not disciplined, what is the child looking forward to? Because I know I have young children, and I know everything I do, they do. Everything I say, they say. Especially my 4-year-old will say exactly what I say, will do exactly what I do. So if I say wrong things, the possibility that he's going to do exactly what I'm doing and saying is 100%. So it's important that we reflect, we take a reflection on everything we do. I have Mr. Bosun Okuwa. I have your hand up, please. If you contribute to Mr. Bosun Okuwa, you can unmute yourself.
Thank you very much, my moderator. I am Mrs. Bosun Okuwa.
Oh, sorry, Mrs.
It's all right, it's all right. I used to tell people that this voice, when I talk, you're not sure who is talking. So I won't beat you to that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I actually joined to be an observer today. It's my first time.
Thank you.
But we were talking, and I could see that we have highly respectable people on this program, Perspective, which I'm happy to be part of you, if you will accept me.
Yeah.
Yeah. What the speaker that just spoke now, what he just said just reminded me of a thing. I said, let me just chip it in. I like, having an example of whatever I'm talking about, whatever it is. Whenever I'm talking to people, I'll give you an example so that you don't just think I'm thinking of it. Do you get? Uncle was talking about NLC, or I don't know what NLC is or whatever, because I don't drink, I don't smoke, and it gives me pleasure when you are talking about, when they're asking, do you drink, do you smoke? It gives me joy to say no. Do you get? But one thing I want us to actually take, because sometimes we're saying things, we know that's the right thing, but we're not doing it. Do you get? We know the right thing, but we're not doing it. I could remember one day my boy asked me, Mom, can I have a tattoo? Can I have a tattoo? I said, well, do you see tattoo on anybody in this house? He said, no. I said, why would you be the first?
Thank you.
And that was it. Then one day he came and he said, guys outside there, they pierce their hair. I said, that's fine. Let's check daddy's hair. He's not a toddler. You get? But he sees it outside, and he will be thinking, these people have parents. So maybe if I do it my own parents, and I say it's not done in my family, and that was it. Nor my daughter, nor my son. None of you. You can be in this country. We can be part of. There are so many good things that we can, emulate in this country. Not the bad part of it. Not at all. My children, one day we were discussing, because we normally discuss, and another thing I think we need to do is be our children's friend. That's where we are, losing it. If you don't be your children's friend, friends outside will teach them the wrong thing. I'm so sorry to, use other incidents as an example. We knew what happened, the other time when, the soldier, Rigby or Rugby or whatever, was being, when he was being murdered. Do we know it's a Nigerian child that did that? Yes. These children were taught as a Christian. Their dad is a Christian. But when you are talking as a dad and the mom is saying something else, the children, they know divide and rule. they start using it for you. They start using it for you. So in a nutshell, what I'm trying to say is that if you have to have any row with your wife or your husband, it shouldn't be in the presence of the children. It should be when you are in your closet. And you don't have to be shouting to be heard. Sweetheart, I don't like what you did the other time. Blah, 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 blah. What about you? You know, men, I'm so sorry to say men. Men will not accept because of your egoistic nature. But then, there's a way, woman, you know, you're not going to bring yourself too much down. You humble yourself to your husband, but you need to be heard. And there's a way you bring it up. There's a way you talk to your husband and the husband will not listen. Forever, he will not listen. But if you humble and bring it across as a humble, responsible woman, yeah, that man is not crazy. That man is not mad. Even at that time, he doesn't want to say yes. But eventually, he knows it's wrong and he will do the right thing. Do you get what I'm saying? So our children, like the uncle said, they know what you're doing and they emulate whatever you're doing. And they will do it more than you are done.
That's correct. Thank you so much, madam. We really appreciate that wonderful contribution, but because of our time, we have to do it very quickly so that we can be able to round up. Thank you. I really, really appreciate that. And I think that's a wonderful contribution so far today. So I can see Otumba's hand up. Otumba, please, can you go next, sir?
Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity again. Quick one. Your question 4, child slavery, child maids, child worker, child witches and wizards are very popular. Of course, they are very popular because, again, like I said, the upbringing, an average Nigerian child has no love from the beginning because maybe majority of them are brought to this world under such a harsh, very witty, very harsh circumstances and environment. So in the process, when you look at how much the parents have to put together to look after them, it becomes a very, very hard work. Now, this will make me to slightly go to religion. Yes, religion also play a role, but as you'll agree with me, religion is under the constitution of many countries. So your religion is already taking care that this is the limit, this is how far you can go. So when you see in countries in Africa where religion is being used as a parameter, as a yardstick, sometimes you discover that most girls that go to do ashewu and other kind of, their children, their daughters of clergymen of our country. So there's something missing somewhere there. And they also take me back to a time in Benin, somewhere in Delta State, when children, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8-year-old children were being beaten to death, were being maltreated, were being manfelled, because they are calling them names. They are saying that they are witch and wizard. These are children that have not been protected. The probability of them going hallucinating and misbehaving is there. So, and because of the pastor around saying once the children started hallucinating, that means that something is a wizard, or a witch. That's what I'm saying. It is very, very key. We should be talking more as suggesting to government, if there's one, not too sure there's one, to enshrine. And when you enshrine, you must ensure that to get law to work, you must give more than enough room to support the law. And that is what we don't have for now. Thank you very much again for giving me the opportunity.
Thank you very much, sir. Mr. Otumba, thank you. That was a very quick and direct one, because it goes a long way at addressing these very basic issues that we're having. Calling a child a slave, calling a child a wizard and witches and all that, and also not just calling them, but also disciplining them. We had issues where a child's hand was cut off, the hair was cut off, they cut the body and all that, and you know, all sorts of injuries that is just unbelievable that we're doing to children who clearly are just children. So I'm going to take on Mr. Chris very quickly. So everyone that is contributing now, let's just know that this is just the final bit. We're just looking at it all together from the child slavery, child wizardry and witchery, or whatever we can call it, into believing that what can Nigerian do? You know, so Nigerian on basic child right and how to uphold one moving forward for children to have right and to be able to live with their family happy. So it's not just the final part, and I'll be going to everyone now. So starting with Mr. Chris, can you take on this for us, please?
Yeah, I will just join 4 and 5 together, but so for the 4-1, actually, what the question is asking us to address is, how do we overcome the dilemma of aforementioned issues? I want to put them in 2 categories. The last one, which is child wizards and witches. I want to lay the emphasis on religious and traditional settings.
Yes.
We know that in most cases, traditionally, it's the people who take their children to religious settings and say, the child is a wizard or a witch, or the religious setting who tell the parents that their child is a witch or a wizard. And it is because when the parents accept it and the child gets abused, it's because traditionally it is what they have accepted as a people. I can't imagine a white someone in UK and a white pastor telling a white parent that the child is a wizard or a witch. Traditionally, that is not something that resonates with their thinking. So it will not stand. But where we have issues back home when we see people they kill twins. They're always carrying the body of children. It's because traditionally or culturally they have accepted it, so it's easy for their children to get it. And then the second bit, which is child slavery, child workers, and all those child labor. Well, it's difficult to blame families that find themselves in such a situation, because I'm very sure that a family that is well off will not be very happy to put the children away as child workers or child labor. So I will not blame people much on that, but as the society improves, things will surely definitely get better. And then to quickly address the fifth and the last one is I want us to look at one issue that are really going on. He said, finally, can they advise Nigerians on basic rights on how to uphold one of the movie codes? There's one wrong thing we always do in our society in Nigeria. A child is abused. The abuser's family goes to see the child parent's family. They talk, they settle, and then they go to court. They say, oh, we are forgiving them, and then the case dies down. It is wrong. It is wrong. When a child is abused, first of all, a crime is committed against the child, number one. A crime is committed against the state, number two. And a child is committed against the society. So, if an abuser goes to the family of the child to apologize, and the family forgives the person, that does not mean that that person has been forgiven by the child. Neither has the state forgiven that person. The person must make his appointment in the court of law. And then the society within which the child grew up is also a crime against that society, against the environment. A child that is abused, you know what the mate will be telling that child? This is a girl. They'll be making fun of her or him. So just apologizing to the parents is not enough. So when an abuser apologizes to the parents of the child and maybe give them some token money just to keep them quiet, that abuser must be faced because of law. because that abuser has committed a crime against the state and against the society. And it's only the parents that have been pacified. That child has not been pacified. As it destroys the child's life, the child will be damaged. So that law or that hanky-panky bill must be stopped and properly addressed. I don't want to open biblical verses to buttress the point I'm making. So we must correct it, and the government must definitely listen to this. Settling out of court settlement
it's a different thing.
It has nothing to do with the child. It has nothing to do with the environment and society within which the child grew up. It's only settlement within the accuser and the parents, and the person must face the court of law. Thank you very much.
Thank you. That was a wonderful and quite elaborate analysis there of what we've been discussing today. And I say thank you very much, Mr. Chris. So we're going to go around now. I'll go straight away to Madam Yetunde Shofela now. I know that you've been patient and listening to everything we've said. So far, how can you run this home? How can our child have rights? And how can we maintain the right? You know, how can we stop calling them slaves and maids and witches and wizards? And how do we progress from here? Please, I want this to be very quick so that we can round everything up and come to everyone. So after that, I'll be coming to Madam Temitayo. So Madam Shofela, if you're there, you can unmute yourself, please.
Thank you very much. Actually, there's very little I'm going to add to all what Mrs. Yitayo, Prince, and everybody have been saying, because they've said it all. Show your children love. Bring them up with principle. Actually, Mrs. Yitayo has said a lot about this. Let's do things the way that we will be proud of what our children see us doing. Don't let us see our children as slaves. Don't burden them with all the housework without you not doing it. Let them just see you doing things properly. It means we have to do things properly in the proper way, and they will follow suit. And we need to talk with our children. We need to open up a channel of communication, discussing with them, listening to them as well. Let's hear what they have to say. Let us discuss it. All this will help us. Don't let us give our children out to go in servitude, that because family A has money, they'll be able to look after them. Like the lady said, there are children raised in a poverty-stricken home, yet they have dignity, yet they made it. They were raised in love, because it is what you have that you give your children, they will understand. So we need to look into all facets of our life and do things the proper way, and then infuse it with the good areas of the religion, the good areas of the society that we are living in. Like she advised us, don't let us go after Ashwebi to the detriment of the children. If the children know that this is your capability, and within that capability we are trying our best, they will respect us, they will listen to us, they will do things right. So may God help us in bringing our children up. There's no fast way about it. There is no school for housemaid, how to be an housemaid. So why should we bring in somebody, another person's child into the home and say only one person should be serving 6 people in the house, wash the clothes, wash the floor, cook the food, go to the market? The children are looking at this, and it's impacting on them. We should not overprotect them, but we should protect them enough for them to know that whatever what is happening out there, in their home they have love, they have protection, that they will be sheltered, that they will be supported. If we can start using this, all these principles, I think we will be in a better place to raise our children well, by giving them the fundamental human rights that they need. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. That was wonderful. Thanks for that. Wonderful. Very quickly, I'll go to Mr. Julius. And now Mr. Julius, please, can you contribute?
Thank you very much, Ola. Now, what I'm trying to add now is the role of the schools with respect to children. Over the years, now when I was growing up, I know discipline was discipline. I was brought up by a school teacher. My brother was a school teacher, and I know what it is. But in the recent years, the government has allowed the churches to do whatever, to have less hand in training the children, in giving them the right things they should know, the right behavior, the right education. So the churches are now less concerned with what goes on with the children. What I'm saying now is that the government should go back and assist, support the schools in order to return that discipline. Not only discipline, that protection over the children, and not allow the schools to remain on their own. Oh, I don't care. It's not my child. It is your child. It is your child, and sometimes will be somebody's child. So schools, whether it is Muslim or whatever it is, should have a right, have a duty over the children to do in order to bring them up. If there's anything challenging, let the schools speak up. When your child goes to school and comes back, let the parents ask, what did you learn today? How was it today? So from there, we'll be able to know the awareness they have in the schools. That's my take on this. That is what I need to say.
Thank you very much, sir. I think that's a very important role, because I've got children in school here, and I know on a daily basis, they come home and we have to do homework with them. We have to go through their work. In fact, you have to respond to the teachers every day. And sometimes you get invited to the school. You have to sit in the class and do lectures and teaching with the children. So you participate. So parents cannot just do like Nigeria, where we don't care, we just put them in school and that's it. So it's important that we're all involved in ensuring that our children have adequate education and also the right as well. Oh, so I'll quickly go to Madam Timtayo, please. You can unmute now and please contribute very quickly.
Thank you very much. I agree with so much that has been said. Maybe the little contribution is back to the same love thing we're talking about. Let's encourage love in everything we do. I agree that statutory organizations need to have responsibility, but more often than not, there are the right policies we're failing in the implementation. Even when we have perfect rules and regulations, we need gatekeepers to ensure that these rules are being implemented. And the government is not going to know what's happening in individual houses. That's where we come in as people who are interested and passionate about child and children welfare. We need to be our neighbor's keeper. We need to mind what's going on in our homes. And all these child abusers, they are in a community, they have friends, they have families. So there's no how they should go unnoticed. If people go to a house where a child is not being treated well, whether the child be free, bond, or slave, people should have a voice. People should call each other to question and to order. Before it gets to the police and to, you have neighbors. We observe what's going on. Even when government wants to intervene, if they do not have evidence, the case will pack up. But even before it gets to that high level of getting it to the state to take responsibility, let's prevent as much havoc as we can on the low level. Each of us should be responsible for members of our family, for our neighbors, our children's friends. When your child goes to school, it's okay, they have friends who are not okay. We should take responsibility, see what we can do to help. Many times things go wrong. I was part of a collaboration in UK here where they're talking a lot of Nigerian children are being taken into care. And it's not like British government have money they kept somewhere so that they will take children from UK, African families to look after them. Is because we have failed as a community to look after our children properly, to look after our friends' children, to look out for our neighbors. For the state to get involved, it shows we have failed. We say it takes a village to raise a child. Let each one of us look around us. Look at yourself first, sort your own, right? Look at your neighbors, your family, extended family, your friends. Be a voice for the child. Advocate for appropriate upbringing of every child you have access to. Make the necessary impact. Let's not wait till government, till school. It is all our responsibilities. Thank you.
Oh, thank you very much.
Thank you.
I must say that the topic we've been looking to today is so important that if we have to continue, we'll be here for hours. And I'm sure we'll have to bring part 2 of this back because it's a topic that would cut across the whole of our economy and how we develop, how we raise our child, and how we avoid this high rate of child abuse that's currently inherent in our economy. But because of the time, we'll have to round up here. And I want to say a special thank you to everyone that's contributed today, all our contributors, all the specialists that we have in the house. Thank you so much for your time today. Next week is another week, and we'll be looking at another topical issue. So I want to say thank you for everyone that's been listening to us all over the world. We say thank you as well. If you're looking at ways to join us again next week, we are available 24/7 online, www.mogbede. Sorry, let me take that again, www.radio.mogbede.co.uk. So the station once again is www.radio.mogbede.co.uk. You can also download our app. We're available on the Android store. The app is Mogbede Radio. You can also listen to us live on Facebook and YouTube. So the handle is MOGBEDE Radio TV. At any time, you can listen to us. We also have topical interviews. We have different programs you can listen to. So we are available 24/7. Also, I'd like to announce this, that we are also looking for anyone who would like to advertise their business. So we're looking for sponsors and advert on the program. So the number to call is 077 877 8380. So our studio number once again is 077 877 8380. Please call the line if you'd like to sponsor or advertise on our program. So till next week when we see you, you've been on The Perspective, and we've been looking at child abuse in Nigeria. I wish every contributor today a very good week, and everyone that's been listening to us, I hope you have a fantastic week. Thank you very much for tuning in. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
nígbà náà à ń pè ní báyìí báyìí.
MOGBEDE o oyin mọ́mọ́.
àwọn ọ̀rẹ́ mi dáadáa wọ́n ní ká má fi ọjọ́ orí wa sí o.
ọmọ Òṣogbo ni bàbá wa, ọmọ Òṣogbo lèmi náà.
agogo dé ọmọ abìrò kágó àjàníwọ̀lú tí mi yàrá ẹ̀ pẹ́kẹ́pẹ́kẹ́ ètò káàrọ̀ ọ̀tọ̀ ló balẹ̀ gùdẹ̀ sórí ìkànnì tá a wà yìí MOGBEDE lẹ́tọ̀ ara ọ̀tọ̀ tó balẹ̀ gùdẹ̀ sórí ìkànnì tá a wà yìí o bẹ́ẹ̀ bá wá fẹ́ sùn nígbọ̀wọ́ abẹ́ fẹ́ polú ọjà nílẹ̀ ẹni àbí lókè òkun ẹ kàn sí wa lórí àwọn ẹ̀rọ ìbánisọ̀rọ̀ wa wọ̀nyí MOGBEDE ètò ní MOGBEDE.